Hi, I'm Michael. I want to take you on a tour of the best show, one of the best I've ever seen, Cattelan at the Serralves Museum in Porto. Best show, and one unexpected because I didn't know this artist except I knew this banana piece that he did because it's kind of a joke. And in fact, it's called Comedian. You tape a banana to the wall, and people really got worked up about it. But I've been to Serralves many times. It's a huge, huge garden and an estate that has all been turned into a major museum. And this estate part I had never seen a show in. So this is where the show took place in this old 30s mansion where they do show work. But on the way there, you stop at the gift store, which to me was kind of confusing because I saw all these kind of funny things and they were funny and I didn't know his art, but is it going to be kind of like a pop art thing? Is it going to be kind of irreverent, silly stuff? Again, had no idea because I only knew this banana. And yeah, and this was fun in a weird commercey way to see different soaps and kind of again irreverent stuff that you can buy. And I guess he made these or designed them, or I have no idea, but you know how gift stores are. But once walking into this place, you immediately see this taxidermied horse hanging from the ceiling. And it's pretty arresting, especially because um, it is surrounded by other things. There's a little sculpture up there. I'll show that later. And then there's these pigeons, and you're sort of seeing the space itself as a piece of the art. And that's important because it's an amazing space. And when you look forward, you see this, which is not funny, right? This is people, dead people, and along with this insanely beautiful um shotguns shell thing. Like here's just this piece covered and riddled in bullets, yet it's very pretty and it's very arresting to see such care gone into this marble. And you'll see tons of these marble sculptures of again very odd things. And even this the bullet hole thing is was really arresting, I guess. It just sort of set a tone. And again, it's this horror and beauty because as you walk from room to room, and we're fortunate it was not crowded, you start to encounter things like obviously burying your head in the wooden floor, but the floor and the room itself are such a big part of this piece. In fact, as you walk along, you'll just kind of see things like horses suspended from the walls and trying to get an understanding of the artist. And the goal is more like you're just discovering things. And then you get into humans, this little tiny sculpture of a guy who's definitely just kind of hanging out and literally because he's hanging from a hook. And hanging starts to go in another direction. You walk into this replica, perfect painted replica of the Sistine Chapel. Amazing, really, because it is really well done and it's this tiny version. So you're this huge human looking up at Michelangelo's ceiling. It's truly amazing. Just like, as I said, these kind of sculptures that really bring a kind of a pathos, most of them of homeless people. So it's like all these beautiful marble sculptures of people that are homeless, and it is definitely a lot of feeling going on for all of us as you try to understand again what's going on in these spaces. It's nice also to have it be not very crowded because it just feels more eerie. And that just gives you this feeling also as you turn to the left. Here is the elephant in the room. But even so, the pieces just seem made for this space. And that's what's kind of arresting about it. Like, it couldn't really take place anywhere else and have the same impact because the architecture and the tone of this space dictates how you encounter and feel about the pieces. Really, like it just had to come together. Because I guess you could see this in a museum and it would be funny, but it is just more interesting just being something you walk by in a hall, as well as walking into a room and seeing the Pope crushed by a meteorite, which there's plenty of religious themes we've seen. But the feeling you get, you just encounter something like this huge empty room, yet with a fireplace. You know, people lived here at one point. There's radiators, but you see this figure, obviously kind of a kid at a desk. And as you encounter it, you're just wondering like what's going to happen. It's also premonition to this piece on the outside we'll talk about in a second, but the kid being impaled and this religion impaling thing happens a lot, as well as just more kind of weird cartoony things like here's the suicide of the squirrel in their little squirrel room. Also, the artist itself sleeping with himself in a room. I mean, and finally, of course, this banana piece, which in this space just made sense. You kind of come in and it's a little bit of a relief from kind of the heaviness of some of the other pieces, but also holds its own because each of the pieces kind of doesn't have that traditional value to it. It has value as an idea, which is what makes it so powerful. Really, you're conveying an idea about things, but you aren't playing the game of, I guess, traditional art being something that is celebrating wealth. As you walk into the bathroom, and truly this amazing bathroom just kind of reminds you of, well, a real bathroom. It is a real bathroom, but you get the feeling like The Shining because you come in and then you see this figure hanging with the bouquet of flowers, and it's kind of dreadful and you're a little bit afraid to get closer to it and see what's happening. And as usual with this artist, when you look up, it's the artist himself hanging and hanging things from walls. In this piece, it's kind of like an art packing piece because it's made to be packed as a piece of art, but it's really a figure of a young girl. It's very arresting. There's also just figures, tiny figures here, like looking down at you and you sort of looking up at them. Very cartoony, very kind of funny, yet things that are often just horrific, like these feet. As you leave, you go to the chapel, and in front of the chapel is a homeless person, but no, it's a sculpture of a homeless person. So it's interesting to go in, and this is a very traditional um, Portuguese chapel with this kind of layer cake thing going on the inside, but then covering it with these taxidermy pigeons is the irreverent artist being like, oh, yeah, it's beautiful, but now, nature has taken over, and this little figure of a boy. Although, is it a boy? It has really big feet. This little boy figure, you kind of are walking up again, like what's gonna happen? Like, what's the joke? What's going on with these pigeons? And then you see the actual figure itself, and there you go, Adolf, right? Leaving, you see this half finished or half baked sculpture of what should just be a screw you, but it isn't really because if you notice, the fingers are cut off, and that's kind of reminiscent of Roman sculptures where you break off the pieces of the hand or the arms and such, and it's sort of like it's just very arresting. And as you walk around the beautiful grounds, you're going to find more pieces because this whole grounds has these amazing vistas. And one piece of especially of interest is the Pinocchio, right? The Pinocchio kind of drowning in the lake. And then finally, this piece of the homeless man, just it's a fountain, I guess, right? But he's just there peeing on the ground. This was just kind of a triumph because it really hit home as something that's kind of exquisite and yet irreverent and yet thoughtful. Yes, and while he is just the banana guy to many, I hope this showed, or it certainly did to me, make my one of the most intriguing artists and shows I've ever seen, and I do hope you enjoyed my little tour. Thank you.